If a specific public school is one of the reasons you're moving to Coral Gables, don't assume that buying inside today's boundaries locks in that school for good. Right now, enrollment across Miami-Dade is falling. New state vouchers are giving more families access to private school, and the district is responding by redrawing attendance lines, merging programs, and closing some schools. So before you choose a home around the school map, you need to know how much that map can change. And in this video, I'll walk you through what's actually happening, what it means for your family, and the real options you have so you can choose with your eyes open. Before we get into it, I want to be clear about one thing. This isn't about school rankings or telling you which one is best. That's honestly not my job, and it's something that you really don't want your real estate agent deciding for you. And if you want to compare schools, go to a site like Niche or Great Schools and do that research for yourself. What I can do is walk you through how the system actually works, what's changing right now, and the real options that you have so that you could honestly make your own call. And real quick, if we haven't met yet, my name is Roque Castro. I am a real estate advisor here in Miami, and I spend most of my week helping families figure out if a move actually makes sense before they ever do it. And if that's the kind of honest read you want, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Or if you're a little bit deeper into the process, I've dropped my contact information down in the description below. Feel free to reach out whenever you're ready. Most families moving to Coral Gables assume the public piece is already settled. So you buy in the right spot and your kid goes to the school that's actually attached to it and the process is done. That used to be a safe assumption, but right now it's a little shakier than it's been in a long time. So let's start with the basics. Miami-Dade public schools are losing students, and it's not happening slowly. In the 2024 to 2025 school year, the district had about 326,000 kids. The next year, about 313. That's roughly 13,000 students gone in a single year, and they're expecting to lose around 8,000 more. That drop hits the money directly because in Florida, funding follows the student, and when a kid leaves, the money walks out with them. And the district sits around $7.4 billion, and it's already down about $100 million. Halfway through the year, they cut close to $90 million more. Then in June, the school board did something about it. They voted to close or combine 9 schools and redraw the boundary lines for the following year. Now, every one of those 9 schools is outside the Coral Gables area, different parts of the county, and nothing in or near the Gables is actually on that list. So I'm not telling you that Coral Gables schools are closing because they're just not. But the map itself is starting to move, and that's exactly the point here. And let's be fair about why, because the headlines make it sound like it's about one thing when it's really about another. The district will tell you the biggest reason isn't families pulling their kids out, it's fewer kids coming in to begin with. Birth rates are down, fewer new families are arriving from abroad, and some are leaving over the cost of living in Miami. Vouchers and charters play a role in this too, but they're not the whole story. One thing to understand before we get into your options, and it's that one thing that everybody keeps on skipping. Your default public school isn't set by the city on the sign. It is set by your exact address. 2 houses on the same street can feed 2 different schools. So before you fall in love with a house, do one thing. So take the address and run it through the district's Find Your Neighborhood tool school and see what it actually feeds today. And look, I keep saying today on purpose, because you just saw how fast those lines can actually move. Okay, that's the ground that's under your feet right now. But now let's go over the options. And the first one is the one that everybody's arguing about, which is the actual vouchers. You've probably heard about the vouchers, and depending on who you follow, they're either saving families or wrecking public schools. And look, what changed is pretty simple. A few years back, Florida opened its scholarship programs to absolutely everyone. Used to be income-based, now almost any family can apply no matter what they actually earn. The voucher runs around $8,000 a year per child, and it goes towards private school tuition. And that dollar amount is roughly the same amount the state would have spent on that kid had they attended public school. So again, the money follows the child. But look, there's a detail that gets lost in all of it though, and it's worth slowing down here. Most of the families using these vouchers were already in private school. One statewide count put it at around 7 in 10 families were already in private and already paying. And only a small slice of families actually pull the kid out of public school to actually use the vouchers. So the vouchers are real and it matters to a lot of budgets. It's just not quietly emptying out every classroom in the county. And it was mostly helping families who were already in private school actually pay less. So for you, the takeaway is simple. The voucher isn't a school, it's an actual tool. If private school is on your list, $8,000 a year off that sticker price changes the math entirely. And hold that thought, because where it actually helps is not where most people assume it actually does. And we'll actually get there in a second. And two of your options cost you absolutely nothing though. And most families moving in have no idea how either one of these works. And we'll simply start with the charter. Most people hear charter and picture something private, or selective, something that actually costs money. But none of that's right. A charter school is a public school. It's free, full stop. What sets a charter apart is who actually runs it. Because here's the thing, charters are run independently and not directly by the district. Same state test, same letter grade, but its own board and its own way of doing things. And for families, one piece matters actually more than the rest. A charter isn't tied to your actual address. You don't have to live inside some boundary to actually apply. Anybody in the county can. And there are a lot of them here too. Roughly 180 charter schools in Miami-Dade, serving close to 90,000 kids. So while the traditional district is shrinking, the charters have basically held their ground. Around the Coral Gables area, you'll run into names like Somerset, plus a few big networks running campuses all over the county. And getting in is pretty straightforward mostly, and if a charter has room, you're in. But if more families apply than there are seats, it does go to a lottery and a literal random draw. And each school runs its own application window, usually somewhere between the fall or the winter, and so there is no single date to actually circle. That's the tedious part, and you go school by school and check the calendar yourself, so you're gonna have to put in a little bit of legwork here. But it's free, and it's a public option, and that doesn't ride on which house you actually end up buying. And the second free option works almost the same way, and what's different is who's actually behind it. So this one, the district runs itself, and that's the magnet school. Magnets get mixed in with charters all the time, but we'll keep it clean here. A magnet is also a public school and it's also free. Only this one's a program that the district runs itself, usually built around a theme. The arts, the sciences, finance, and like the charter, it's open to the whole county, not just your boundary. Your address doesn't decide whether you can actually apply. Let's take Coral Gables Senior High. It runs a magnet program, including an international baccalaureate academy and an academy of actual finance. It's public and free to attend. Admissions looks a lot like the charter. You apply, and if there are more applicants than seats, it's back to the lottery again. The one thing that's actually different here is the timing, and that actually trips people up. The district runs one main magnet window. It opens October 1st and closes on January 15th, and results come out somewhere in the middle of March. So if a magnet's something that you actually want to try, that window is absolutely everything. Miss it, and you're usually waiting a whole year for the next round. So that's two free public paths with nothing to do with your home's boundary: the charter and the magnet. And those two are worth knowing cold before you decide private is your only way around the zone schools. So one quick thing before we get into private schools. If you're moving to Coral Gables, I put together a relocation guide. It covers the stuff that most people only figure out after they've already bought. It's free, and the link's down in the description below. Grab it if you find that useful. So let's get into private schools. A lot of families who move into Coral Gables end up looking right here, and that's the private sector. And plenty of them make the same mistake. They talk about private school like it's the one thing and just simply one price, but it isn't, and there is a large range between them. On one end, you have parochial and smaller independent schools where tuitions might run anywhere from $9,000 to about $15,000 a year. On the other end, you have the well-known college prep schools where tuition can run anywhere between $30,000 and over $50,000. Schools like Belen and Riviera sit at different points somewhere in between. So private isn't just a number, it's an actual spectrum. About $9,000 on one end and about $57,000 on the other. Now, remember that voucher? This is where it actually lands, and it's kind of the opposite of what people expect. The high-end schools, a lot of them don't take the state voucher at all. That $8,000 does nothing for you there. Where it stretches the furthest is at the more affordable parochial schools, where $8,000 off of a $9,000 or $10,000 tuition covers most of that bill. So the voucher and the school that you're thinking about don't always line up, and that's worth checking before you actually bank on it. And most of the sought after schools fill up, so spots are very limited. And private schools take applications in a window for the upcoming school year. The mistakes families make isn't applying a year too late. It's missing the window or only putting in one application. Watch for each school's window, get yours in while it's open, and apply to more than one school. So that's the whole menu. Now, let's put it together because all of this comes down to one decision you're actually about to make. So how would I think about it? Let's strip it down, and you've really got two buckets here: the free and public paths and the actual paid paths. On the free side, 3 doors: your zone schools set by your actual address, charters that are public but run independently, and magnets, which are public programs run by the actual district. The charter and the magnet both let you reach past your boundary, but both can come down to a lottery, so neither one is actually a sure thing. On the paid side, you got the private school. You get control over the seat. You pay for it somewhere between $9,000 and over $50,000 a year, and you apply when that window is actually open. The question that actually decides this isn't which school is best, and I honestly can't answer that for you. And like I said, you wouldn't want me to either. The real question is, how much certainty do you actually need and what you're willing to trade for it? If you need a guaranteed seat and you can fund it, private school can actually buy you that. Open to a lottery and want to keep your money, the charter and the magnets are real options that most people walk right past. And the zone schools, those are always sitting as your floor as long as you remember that floor can actually shift. So don't buy a house thinking one specific public school comes bolted to it forever. Buy the home because it's the right home. Then work the school question on its own with the whole menu right in front of you. The families who do well with this aren't the ones who guessed right on a boundary. They're the ones who knew their options before they ever signed. And if you want to back up a step and ask whether Coral Gables area is even worth the premium in the first place, I broke that down in another video. It's right here, and I'll see you in that one.